Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today we're going to be looking at something that might sound a little different, especially for all of you academics out there.
Yeah, it's not your typical approach to stress management.
Right,
We're
exactly.
talking about using reading to deal with stress.
You hear about retail therapy,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
but have you ever considered bibliotherapy?
Bibliotherapy, it's a pretty fascinating concept,
Yeah.
and there's actual research to back it up.
Really?
Oh,
I
yeah.
had no idea.
So we're going to be exploring a study from University Utara, Malaysia, that
Okay.
actually looks at how bibliotherapy can help university staff cope with all the demands of, their work.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
Whether you are a seasoned professor or just starting out academia, it comes with some stress.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But this study gets even more specific, and they highlight two major sources of tension.
Yeah, the first one, workload.
Okay?
Probably not going to surprise anyone.
Right.
The researchers found that participants often just felt overwhelmed by the constant pressure to teach, to publish.
Publish or perish, right?
Exactly, and to keep up with all those administrative tasks.
Oh, tell me about it.
One person even described it as feeling like they were drowning in a sea of deadlines.
Oh, wow. Drowning in a sea of deadlines.
Yeah,
I think we can all relate to that one for sure.
absolutely.
But, I'm really interested in that second stressor that they identified, the interpersonal dynamics.
Oh, yeah.
That one I feel like doesn't get talked about as much.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But it's definitely an important factor. Feeling undervalued by your colleagues or dealing with conflicting instructions from management.
Oh, for sure.
These things can really add to the stress of an already demanding job.
100%. Yeah. A supportive and well-structured environment, I think, can make a world of difference.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But the opposite can really amplify that stress.
Exactly.
So where does bibliotherapy even fit into all of this?
So that's where it gets interesting. The researchers found that bibliotherapy can be a surprisingly effective way to manage these stressors,
Okay.
but it's not just about, escaping into a good book.
Right.
So that can certainly be a part of it.
Okay. So there's more to it than just getting lost in a good story.
Definitely. The study found that bibliotherapy can be most effective when it's used strategically
Okay.
to process your emotions, reframe stressful situations, and develop coping mechanisms.
I see. So it's about using reading intentionally, I guess, to work through some of these challenges and kind of build resilience?
Exactly.
But honestly, how does that actually work? Can you give me an example?
Yeah, of course. Think about it this way. When you read, you're often exposed to all these different perspectives and ways of thinking.
Yeah.
So this can help you understand your own situation in a new light and come up with solutions that you might not have considered before.
Like gaining a fresh perspective through someone else's eyes, right?
Ex-
I guess it's similar to like how talking to a mentor or a friend can sometimes help you work through a problem.
Exactly. And the study actually found that some participants experienced a shift in their thinking.
Oh, wow.
After engaging in bibliotherapy,
Really?
they described feeling more mature
Okay.
in their decision-making
That's interesting.
and better equipped to handle difficult situations.
So it's not just about feeling better in the moment, but it's about like actually changing the way you approach stressful situations.
Exactly. And that ties back to this framework called Karasek's demand control model,
Okay.
which basically says that stress comes from this mismatch between the demands that are placed on you and how much control you have over your work.
Okay, so if you're feeling overloaded with demands and lacking that control, that's kind of a recipe for stress.
Right.
And bibliotherapy can maybe help bridge that gap.
Precisely. By increasing your knowledge and understanding through reading,
Right.
you gain a greater sense of control over your responses to stress, which can ultimately lead to just feeling less overwhelmed.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But before we go any further,
Sure.
I think it would be helpful to kind of unpack this Karasek model a little bit more,
Okay.
because I think it's a key concept in understanding how bibliotherapy works, but I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with it.
You're absolutely right. Let's take a closer look at what Karasek's model is all about and how it applies to the challenges academics face every day.
Perfect. Let's dive in.
All right, so imagine like a graph, right?
Okay.
One axis is demands,
Okay.
all those deadlines, expectations, just the volume of work.
Yeah.
The other axis is control.
Okay.
Your ability to make decisions, to influence your workload, to set your own pace.
Okay. I'm picturing it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a stress map.
Exactly. And Karasek's model suggests that when demands are high,
Okay.
but your control is low, that's where stress really take hold.
That makes sense.
Think about those times when you're juggling multiple projects,
Oh, yeah.
facing tight deadlines, And maybe even dealing with like sudden changes from above and you have very little say in the matter.
Oh, that's painfully familiar.
Yeah.
It's like being on a treadmill that keeps speeding up and you can't hit the stop button.
That's a great analogy. And it's precisely in those situations that bibliotherapy can be so helpful.
Okay.
It's not about eliminating the demands.
Right.
That's often just not realistic in academia. But it's about increasing your sense of control over how you respond to them.
So it's about finding ways to navigate that high demand, low control zone without letting stress take over.
Precisely. Now, the study dug a little deeper into the specific ways that bibliotherapy can be used to manage stress.
Okay.
And they actually proposed a bibliotherapy stress management model.
Okay.
I know it sounds a bit formal,
Yeah.
but it's a really helpful way to visualize the process.
Okay, break it down for me. What are the key components of this model?
All right, well, first, it acknowledges those contextual factors we talked about, the workload and the interpersonal dynamics
Yeah.
that are often at the root of stress in academia.
Right.
And then bibliotherapy comes in as the intervention.
Okay, so it's recognizing the problem and then proposing reading as a way to kind of address it.
Right.
What else?
So here's a crucial part. The model emphasizes that your attitude towards bibliotherapy plays a huge role.
Okay.
If you're skeptical or if you're just going through the motions, it's unlikely to be as effective.
So you need to be open to the idea and genuinely believe that reading can help.
Exactly. Knowledge and belief are like catalysts.
Okay.
They determine how successfully someone can use bibliotherapy.
Interesting.
And when all the pieces come together, the awareness of those stressors, the intentional use of reading, and that positive mindset,
Yeah.
it can lead to some pretty powerful outcomes.
Like what? What kinds of outcomes did the researchers observe in the study?
Well, a lot of participants talked about feeling more emotionally resilient.
Okay.
Like they could handle those day-to-day pressures without getting as frazzled.
Yeah.
They also described a shift in their thinking, a greater ability to analyze situations objectively and come up with solutions.
So it's not just about feeling better in the moment, but about actually changing the way you approach stressful situations.
Exactly, and that ties back to Karasek's model.
Right?
By gaining knowledge and perspective through reading, you're increasing your sense of control even in those high-demand environments.
It's like reading is giving you a mental toolkit to navigate those challenges more effectively.
That's a great way to put it, and this is where the model gets really interesting.
Okay.
It highlights two key outcomes: knowledge expansion and a positive mindset.
Okay, so reading can literally expand your knowledge, which makes sense.
Right.
But how does it foster a positive mindset?
Well, think about it this way. When you engage with thought-provoking ideas, when you explore different perspectives and, maybe even discover solutions to problems that have been weighing on you,
Yeah.
that can be incredibly empowering.
Okay.
It can shift your outlet from, feeling stuck and helpless to feeling capable and motivated.
I see. It's like reading is giving you a sense of agency.
Right.
A feeling that you can actually do something about the challenges you're facing.
Precisely. And that feeling of agency is a key component of the positive mindset. It's about believing in your ability to cope, to adapt, to learn, and to grow.
This is all making so much sense. But before we get too carried away, singing the praises of bibliotherapy,
Yeah.
I think it's important to acknowledge that the study we're discussing did have some limitations.
You're absolutely right. We need to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
For one thing, the sample size was relatively small, just 6 participants
Okay.
from a single university in Malaysia.
So while the findings are fascinating, we can't necessarily assume they apply to every academic in every part of the world.
Exactly. It's a starting point. And more research is definitely needed to explore, the effectiveness of bibliotherapy in different contexts.
That's fair. So given these limitations, what would you say are the key takeaways from this study for our listener? What should they be thinking about as they consider whether bibliotherapy might be right for them?
Well, I think the most important takeaway is that bibliotherapy has real potential as a stress management tool,
Okay.
especially in demanding fields like academia.
Right.
But it's not just about passively consuming any book you can get your hands on.
Right. It's about being intentional with your reading choices, about seeking out materials that can help you process your emotions,
Right.
gain new perspectives, and develop coping mechanisms.
Exactly. And it's about cultivating that positive mindset, believing in the power of reading to make a difference in how you experience and manage stress.
So how do you actually put this into practice? How do you choose the right reading material for stress management? Are we talking about self-help books, novels, biographies? What works best?
Well, I wish it were that easy.
Right.
Like a bibliotherapy starter pack or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But the study found that the most effective reading material varied quite a bit from person to person. Remember, it's about finding what resonates with you.
So no magic formula.
Right.
But There were some interesting examples in the study, right?
Absolutely. One participant found a lot of comfort in revisiting childhood favorites,
Okay.
specifically a Malaysian comic series called Budak Kampung.
Okay.
And, it brought back happy memories and helped them relax.
That makes sense. Nostalgia could be a powerful antidote to stress.
Oh, yeah.
It's like taking a mental vacation back to a simpler time.
Exactly. And another participant found solace in historical books and photographs.
Hmm.
They described it as a way to kind of connect with the past and gain perspective on, present-day challenges.
So it's not just about fiction or self-help books.
Right.
It's really about finding whatever provides that sense of escape or comfort or inspiration.
Precisely. And this is where that sense of agency we talked about earlier comes in.
Right.
You get to curate your own bibliotherapy experience.
I like that.
It's about exploring different genres, authors, and topics to discover what works best for you.
Yeah, that's what I love about this whole concept.
Yeah.
It's so empowering. It's not about someone telling you what to read or how to feel.
Right.
It's about you taking control of your own well-being through the power of reading.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So if you're listening and thinking, okay, I'm ready to give this a try,
Yeah.
I would suggest starting by reflecting on your own reading history.
Okay.
What books have made a lasting impact on you?
Right.
What genres or authors do you naturally gravitate towards?
That's a great starting point. It's like taking inventory of your own personal literary medicine cabinet.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to branch out and try new things. You might be surprised at what you discover.
Yeah.
Maybe a genre you never thought you'd enjoy becomes your go-to stress reliever.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic note to end on.
Yeah.
The beauty of bibliotherapy is that it's an ongoing journey of exploration and discovery.
It really is.
It's about finding those books that speak to your soul and help you navigate those inevitable ups and downs of life, especially in a demanding field like academia.
Well said. To our listener, we leave you with this. If you were to embark on your own bibliotherapy adventure, what books would you choose? What are you hoping to find within those pages?
We'd love to hear your thoughts, share your insights and experiences with us. We're always excited to connect with fellow deep divers and explore the power of reading together.
Always.
Until next time, happy reading and stay curious.